is not, of course, Islamic, is not, of course, Jewish, it's nothing, it's fundamentally laicist, and it should be capable of embracing any country with any religion. That does not mean that some countries might have more difficulties to adapt to what is the general trends of the European Union than others. All the different countries, when we have entered the Union, we have had to go through a very intense period of adaptation. And depending on the degree of development, depending on many other things, you will have to do more or less effort. And it will be more or less complicated to negotiate the entry into the Union. But certainly there is nothing objectively that creates any specific difficulty for Turkey to become a member, and in fact the negotiations have already started. The question of Cyprus is that Cyprus has always been considered a part of Europe. It's a European island.
And so is Albania.
And so is Albania. And Albania is going to become probably one day, not tomorrow, a member of the European Union. We have signed with Albania treaties, that is a stabilization treaty, which is a kind of instrument that we have used with the Balkan countries in general, Albania one of them. And this process, these treaties should take a country from the point it is now up to the door or the front door or front step of the European Union. So Albania is recognized as a future candidate. It's not yet a candidate because this has a formal meaning that you start already negotiations, but it is recognized as a country that in the future might join the EU, the same way that it would be for Croatia, or it would be for Bosnia-Herzegovina, for all the Balkan countries in general. They will all one day become members of the EU.
What about Israel? Israel is a member of the Western European Group at the United Nations.
Yes, until now it has not been considered that Israel is Europe. That's the point. In the same way that other countries that are very close to the European borders, but geographically are not considered Europe. But of course, the concept of Europe, as you have mentioned, might be revised in a dimension of the globality. And what is, in a global world, what does mean a geographical boundary? And that's something that can change in the future, but not for the time being. For the time being, it is clear that the EU receives its evolution within the boundaries of what is, geographically speaking, Europe.
Okay, one final question, and then we open up. The United States at one stage made a reference to old Europe and new Europe. Is that something that you recognize or understand or favor or oppose?
We certainly can understand the meaning of that particular sentence.
You can or you cannot?
We can understand what that sentence meant, but we cannot recognize that as a dividing reality in Europe. We certainly don't think that there is, in that sense, a new and old Europe. To begin with, more or less in Europe, we all are old Europe in one sense, and we are all new Europe in another sense. I think that when that sentence was used, it was not even necessarily a division of the new members or all members of the European Union. It was a very ad hoc, I think, kind of expression that does not correspond or does not match any specific reality in the European Union.
Spain, for example, shifted its government. Before it shifted, it was part of old Europe. After it shifted its government, it has become a part of new Europe. Or vice versa, sorry.
Vice versa, yes. Well, in that sense, it would have, but I think Spain continues to be more or less the same.
Okay. We're going to open it up to questions, and starting with Madison, my suggestion is that you ask two questions, one after the other, and we will answer them and then shift to Roger Williams. So over to Madison for the first two questions.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Good.
Hi, my name...
That doesn't look like Madison, but...
Oh.
No, this is Madison, I hope.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Regan. I'm a freshman here at FDU
Can you
Madison.
speak slightly louder?
Okay.
Speak slightly louder.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Caitlin Regan. I'm a freshman at Fairleigh Dickinson University Madison campus. My question is concerning Britain and the Euros, mainly directed toward Ambassador Valenzuela. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. My question is, does it make it harder for the European Union to promote the change of currency to euros, being that Britain, one of the biggest countries over there, does not accept the euro?
Okay. The person
What does the non-acceptance of the
Just walk up to
euro
that
by
microphone
Britain
and introduce yourself.
imply for the rest of the euro countries?
Yes.
And
our
speaking,
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Second question.
Second question, okay.
Second question, please, from Madison.
I'm Scott Hudak. I'm a sophomore here at Fairleigh Dickinson, and my question is, how do you think the EU's defense policies will affect NATO?
Defense policies, bracket, or absence thereof, debracket.
Okay, let me take the first one. Sincerely, I don't think that the not adherence of the UK to the euro weakens in any way the euro. I don't think that's the case. And if you look at the evolution of the euro since it was introduced, you will see that it has been quite stable and strong currency. I don't think at the very beginning it was more or less 20% lower than the dollar. Now it's more or less 20% above the dollar. That does not change much. More or less, the dollar and the euro are currencies that should be more or less playing in the same level, perhaps with slight differences depending on the particular policies and the particular economic situation at one given moment. I don't think that will change if the UK at some point decides to enter the euro. It is true that it would imply a reinforcement for the euro, particularly in what the place or the stand the euro has in the financial markets, because it would be more present in the financial market of the city. But that's the reason why also, if you ask the city in London, you will see that a majority of the people in the city, bankers, etc., are favorable to the entry of the UK in the euro currency. It would be more outside those circles, the financial circles, where a certain opposition lies. Concerning the defense policy, it has to be clear one thing. Within the EU, we have all sorts of countries in terms of their position regarding security and this sort of issues. We have some countries that still declare themselves basically neutral. That's the case of Sweden, or that's the case of Austria, or that's the case of Ireland. Some of them are evolving in that position because our positions that are related to another period in history, just after World War II and during the Cold War. But they are still basically on those kind of positionings. There are others, the majority of the countries of the European Union are members of NATO. And basically, a majority of them recognize that the best defense for Europe is provided within NATO and within this set in which there is a very close and tight alliance between the US and Europe. Notwithstanding, we have developed a European political policy on security and defense. Curiously enough, this defense is not so much about defense, but about the capacity for Europe to intervene outside its borders in operations basically related to the UN. Operations in which Europe would, one way or another, there would be different modalities, and we are still working on that, contribute to the UN peacekeeping efforts. And that's the basic sense of the European security and defense policy. It's not really a defense of the territory of the European Union. It's more of a military capacity